Hello, I'm TheZOMBIEJ. We're done with a bit. We're going to talk about Bionicle G2 this time. Specifically on its lack of nostalgia factor. Well, value of nostalgia in regards to G2. Bionicle G2, yeah, it did have some nostalgia attached to it in terms of, the characters, mostly the characters' names, the elements. Okay, air was replaced with jungle, but what can you do? The golden masks, maybe? Okay, there was nothing nostalgic about Bionicle G2. The only thing that really tied it to G1 were small things. The Mask of Time was always teased in every single episode of the web series from 2015. And there was a G2 Mask of Time that just looked like cheese. Yeah, that pissed me off. And there was no way both Masks of Time can be combined unless you really want to use Blender to, blend the two together somehow. That's what Blender is for. Yes. The Toa Masters basically had the dual weapon functionality and also the gearbox. Now the Toa Nuva, back in 2002 and 2003, if you stuck around long enough, also had the dual weapon functionality, in which that's where the Toa Masters had their dual weapon functionality originated from, but expanded upon. And for the most part, it was pretty good. The gearbox made a return, but it wasn't classic gears. Not on the Toa Mata, or the Toa Nuva. No classic gears. They had to make them simpler. They're little four-lobed knob things, which I didn't find anything wrong with the knobs. It's just, they were not what I was expecting, to be honest. I was expecting, well, what the hell was I expecting anyway? Was I expecting the original gears? No. Well, okay, I was, but at the same time, what was Lego gonna do when it came to the gearbox? They had to do something simple and effective, and that's why we got the knobs. Which also tied G1 and G2 together, because G1 had knobs for the Boxor and the Usanui, and probably some other sets that I don't recall at the moment. People shat on the knobs for being too simple, and well, the same can be said about G2 as a whole for being too simple and lacking in detail. Well, the Uniters at least tried to, give us more detail, and for the most part they succeed. And even the Nuva symbols were reused for 2016, 10 years ago. You know what also happened 10 years ago? The announcement that the end of the Journey to One symbolizes, or basically signals, the end of Bionicle G2. And all I wanted to do was cry at the time, because it literally felt like Lego was taking Bionicle away for the second time. I was mad. I really was. I was so upset to the point of, suicidal tendencies and whatnot. Not the band. The band is actually pretty good, but you know. I enjoyed the Bionicle G2 sets for the most part. Okay, there was a couple that I thought were not as good as others. But I wasn't getting any kind of nostalgia out of these other than for the fact that, hey, Bionicle is back on store shelves after that dream I had. And, you know, I can relive those memories that I had during G1's initial run. Not necessarily, like, it didn't necessarily happen that way. It's just like, well, I can have my mom pick up these 3 sets here, have my sister buy a set here too, what have you. Or I can buy sets as well with my own money if I had any. And just playing with the parts and building the sets. Yeah, it was fun to build the sets. Even the story lacked nostalgia value. There was no value in this story other than, well, this. It was kind of embarrassing, the story for G2 being as dull and simple and boring and lame and garbage as it was. It had good ideas, but again, it failed and, you know, failed to captivate an audience. Now, obviously, there are some of you who probably enjoyed the G2 story, but you have to admit it has flaws. It has a lot of flaws. It is full of flaws. It is a flaw, and that is pretty sad, to be honest. What's sad for me is G2 as a whole has a serious lacking in nostalgia value to the point where I've seen people, like there was a YouTube channel that discovered a container full of discarded G2 Bionicles at a thrift store. That was how bad the situation was. You know, G2 was just, it failed. It completely fucking failed. It was a financial failure. It was a critical failure too. It had its fans, but small minority of you. I know one of you who is subscribed to me is going to type in the comment section below defending it. But hey, yes, you. I know you. And you are going to have a fun time with this video. The point is, Bionicle G2, I'm not nostalgic for. Even here in 2016, even last year in 2020 or 2025. Wait a minute. Did I say 2016? I meant 2026. So even last year in 2025, I had no nostalgia. I was not feeling nostalgic for the 2015 heroes. You know, I pick up Golly, for example, and I'm like, yeah, this came out 10 years ago. So? And that is a problem. Because it truly feels like Bionicle G2 has lost a lot. It lost its potential in nostalgia value for a lot of people. And for me especially, as a G1er, it basically only incentivized me to want to go back to Bionicle G1 and, you know, worship the heroes that I grew up with. The heroes of G2 are not the same heroes. Not the same heroes at all that I grew up with starting in 2001. They're not the same. The only thing that ties them together is their elements. And, well, except jungle, but whatever. And their names. The only other recognizable name in Bionicle G2 was Makuta, main villain. But he was just called Makuta in G2. It was not called Pterodax. G2 felt like an embarrassment to some people. And because of so much potential that it could have had it been a serious line that was aggressively marketed towards the kids of 2015 and 2016, it would have lasted a full 3 years if they even scheduled sets to come out in 2017. Because as far as I've seen, there was no planned third year for G2. Not at all. No. 2017 never existed. It never will, and never has existed. LEGO said that they planned 3 years for it. They lied. Let's be honest. They lied. They lied their dicks off, basically, and stated that, basically they just cut off after 2 years because that's all they truly planned for. Yeah, only 2 years, as opposed to the 10 years that we got with G1. It came and went in a flash. You see what I'm saying? G2 felt like it had... It felt like an empty, lifeless theme that was just there to simply exist. There was nothing left. And by the time Journey to 1 ended, by the time G2 ended, as a result of Journey to 1's end, it felt like LEGO was trying to do, damage control with basically, undo the damage that they've caused upon themselves and the Bionicle community, us, by sending the heroes back to where they came, in the stars, on their respective planets. That last episode of the Journey to 1 was an insult. It really was. Insulting. Absolutely insulting. I mean, I can sit through the Journey to 1 and enjoy it, but that final episode? No. The final 6 or so minutes of Journey to 1? No. No. Just no. It is just insulting to the very name of Bionicle. I'd rather watch the movies. I'd rather watch the movies from G1. That includes The Legend Reborn. Don't you deny that The Legend Reborn was a good movie. Yeah, it was the worst out of the 4, but I enjoyed it. If you don't enjoy it, well, first of all, fuck you. And second of all, whatever, at the end of the day. So, all about opinions, really. And, that's basically all there is to it. G2, I did not feel nostalgic for. Even 2016. Here in 2026, I don't feel nostalgic for Bionicle 2016. I still love the Umarak and Umarak the Destroyer sets. I still love the Toa Uniter sets. The creatures are pretty good too. The traps, forgettable. But then there was Ikimu and the Beasts. These are all good sets, if not competent. but they lacked nostalgia value. Same thing with the sets from the previous year. The Toa Masters, well, they did have bright and vibrant colors, and they did provide some entertainment when it came to building them. Same thing with the Protectors. There was still a serious lacking. The Skull villains were laughable at best. I enjoyed Kolta, the Skull Grinder, and of course Skull Basher. Great set. Interesting arm swinging function, or yeah, clapping, whatever, thunderclap sort of thing. Yeah. The other two are forgettable. Oh, and then there's Skull Scorpio, which was a complete just miss. But I've grown to accept the set as decent at best. The poly bags and collectible stuff, I mean, it gave us stuff to collect. You know, we got a Guild Creature of Light. We got the forgettable Skull Scorpion. We got books. We got graphic novels. We got an activity book that it's just shit. And there were bootlegs of the Journey to One. The story really just feels like an embarrassment. It had good ideas, as I've said, but the execution was just, it was nothing. There was nothing there. It felt like an anti-story. Writer Windham doesn't know how to write Bionicle. He was good with Star Wars and Indiana Jones, surprisingly, because yeah, I have the first 4 movies and as well as the first 4 books that, you know, were tie-ins to the movie. But writer Windham, I'm sorry to say this, actually I'm not sorry. What the fuck am I talking about? You can't write a Bionicle story. The 3 books that you wrote were lacking in substance. Lacking in something that is truly great. It just felt like it was boring. I read the 3rd book in less than a day. At least an hour. Or 2. Or whatever. Yeah, because I'm slow at reading. Shut up. The graphic novels. Yeah, there were color issues with some colors being in the wrong places. That's happened in Bionicle comics before. And the activity book? Absolute shit compared to the G1 activity book from 2003. The web animations, the art style reminded me of Mucha Lucha for some reason. Remember that cartoon? Wow, what a piece of shit. And the Journey to One, I can't get over that final episode. Insulting. Absolutely cringeworthy. Made me want to kill myself. Plain and simple as that. The story is absolute balls. Did not work. Did not work as a Bionicle. It doesn't even work as a Bionicle fan fiction, if you really want to go that far, and I will go that far. Bionicle G2's story in all these different avenues just felt like a fucking abysmal fan fiction that was not even written to entertain anyone, really. So who was it for? Who was the story of Bionicle G2 for? The kids of, at the time, 2015, 2016? They didn't give a shit. They didn't give two shits. They didn't give two fucks about the Bionicle story of G2 or even the G2 sets. Very few did. Even my sister didn't care. Which is fine. I don't blame her. I only cared enough to promote the theme because Bionicle was coming back was a dream come true for me. That dream I had back in 2014 was just wow. It was glorious. The next day I woke up and it was just in there. It was gone like that until I saw the TTV videos. And I was just excited. 2 years later, it was gone. Again. Because LEGO only could focus their efforts on the Star Wars stuff. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I sound like a broken record at this point, but fuck you. It truly feels like LEGO they slashed the budget to more than half, it seems. They took more than half of those funds and poured them over to the LEGO Star Wars CCBS sets. You know, these fuckers. Yeah, it's still not complete, but yeah. I mean, I'm grateful we got the LEGO Star Wars CCBS figures at all. You know, General Grievous and Darth Vader are fucking awesome. But they'd rather spend their money on that than on Bionicle G2? No, that's not okay. That's not okay, LEGO. Their poor marketing is what was to blame for G2's abysmal performance. Beyond abysmal. It's not our fault, LEGO. You fucked up. Not us. You get 2 middle fingers for that one. Because you needed to be much more aggressive when you try to push construction on the kids of 2015 and 2016. You can't do that for Bionicle. Well, guess what? You could have. But you've wasted your money. You've wasted your time. And you've wasted just a lot of plastic. It truly felt like G2 was a waste. It was a waste. Yeah, I went as far as to say that. It was a waste. And that is sad, given the fact that we still have the sets. We still have, you know, the novelizations, books, whatever the fuck you want to call them. Still subpar. The G1 books, the G1 everything is far superior to anything that was written for G2. And if you disagree, well, whatever. G1's story, its lore, is the best lore you're going to come across in any LEGO franchise. Fuck Ninjago, fuck Nexo Knights, fuck anything from Marvel or DC. Fuck Legends of Chima. Fuck. The best lore for any LEGO theme is with our childhood heroes. We couldn't get that. We couldn't get that with G2. Not even a shred of the legendary story was implemented into the new story. No. We weren't going to get it. We were going to get a simplified, watered down, just terrible, abridged story that just felt like it was rushed beyond belief. And you know why Ryder Windham was part of it in the first place for the 3 books? Well, it's a big paycheck to him. Okay, maybe it's not a big paycheck, but it's a paycheck regardless. So he'll sign on to it regardless. 3 books, that gets him like, I don't know, $100,000, if that. You know, I bet Christian Faber and Bob Thompson, Kathy Hapka, Alistair Swinnerton, and Greg Farshtey, of course, were probably embarrassed. They probably just did this. Once G2 started, and once G2 ended. They point the fingers at you, Lego, because you fucked up, not the fans. Those individuals probably would have defended us, stood up and defended for us, because you have to be a bunch of corporate money-hogging dicks to the detriment of Bionicle, G2. Because of G2's abysmal performance, LEGO decided that it was too financially risky to ever revisit Bionicle in a full-on, full-fledged theme ever again. That's why we got things like the GWP, the minifig from this year, and the little brick-built, googly-eyed Tahoe build from the 90 Years of Play set. Those were flukes, at best. But at least they're nice to have. At least they're nice to have. G3, conceptually, at least, could have, retold the first 3 years, at least. But in SCCBS, like the GWP, that would have been perfectly fine. I wouldn't mind SCCBS Bionicle, because we got that in 2023. And this spurred a lot of discussion, a lot of, mocks and concept stuff. And to build Bionicle in that style, oh yeah, I'm all for it. In the style of the minifig that was released this year, how about not? How about we not do that? Because there will be more cosplayers, probably. No, I can't get behind that. Fuck off. The minifig is fine for the most part, as long as you pretend that the cosplayer part doesn't exist. And it's Tahoe, the minifig. Yeah. Anyway. So G2 lacked a lot of nostalgia value. It had no nostalgia value 10 years later, after its demise. There was still that art book, that concept art book. It was only limited, strictly limited to, I don't know how many copies. I think there was only 1 copy, and there was a PDF that was available, which I have. So, in theory, you could make a bootleg, a physical bootleg of that PDF, of that art book. Someone get on that now. If LEGO tries to stop you, you say, fuck you. LEGO took this theme away from us twice. With G2 this time, I was truly pissed. But 10 years later, I think about it now, it feels like, whatever. I don't get nostalgia for G2 even 10 years after its demise. 10 years after I read the announcement. Ten years after I read the announcement, I'm still upset that we lost Bionicle twice. But for G2, it sure as hell feels like with Bionicle G2 gone within the 2 years that it was truly planned for, it felt like, you know, it's just another Lego theme that bit the dust. It's like whatever at this point, you know. Obviously, G2 fans are going to miss it, lament its disappearance. Not disappearance, but lament G2's anti-legacy, if you will, in the comment section below. I lament the fact that we got G2 to begin with. It was a phoned-in theme, and it rarely ever performed at all. Few people bought the sets. That sucks. That sucks a lot of cock, and it's not even funny. G2 lacked nostalgia value. There was little value in G2, regardless of what some of you may argue in the comment section below. At least we had cool parts to fuck around with, you know, build mocks with, make revamps of the sets we got. And, you know, whatever. With Bionicle G2 gone 10 years ago, 10 years now it's gone. It's like, oh yeah, that happened. Why should I be upset anymore? Why should you be upset anymore? It's like whatever at this point. And Lego tried to put fuel into the fire. They fueled the fire with recognition. A post on Reddit posted this picture of 3 2016 sets. Okay, one of them, it was Miracle with a Uxar. And it's like, Lego, you're adding fuel to the fire here. 10 years later, you remind us that this theme ended, and now you're just trying to trigger people. Oh yeah, they tried to trigger those bad memories we had back then of losing Bionicle for a second fucking time. They're teasing us. They truly are teasing us, and it's almost in a pseudo-masochist way that it makes Lego look like sadists. Well, Bionicle G2 may have lost fans, may have divided the fan base to a degree, but at least it triggered some memories that we had from our youth when we first discovered Bionicle and we got into it. At least we had those memories. At least we had those memories to fall back on when Bionicle G2 was canceled. Forever and always, Lego will forever always be unforgiven. We will never forgive them for what they did. And even now, they still fuck with us. Last year, Mask of Power was canceled wrongfully, but what was Team Konoha gonna do? I felt like they could have just laughed it off and just, you know, kept producing the game. But then that would draw on some more legal attention from Lego's legal team, and I'm like, yeah, well, guess what? No one cares. Legal teams, regardless, when it comes to Lego, you don't listen to them. Either way, Bionicle G2 united us for a brief 2 years. Brief 2 years. A brief 2 fucking years. It felt too brief. It was short. It was rushed. It was a rush job. And it's one that I hope will never happen again. A G3 as SCCBS would have been great. We're not going to get that, because Lego has to constantly throw us under the bus and tease us, and yet still expect us to pay $5 for that fucking minifig. Once again, Lego, you get 2 middle fingers. Because you have to be selfish. Yeah. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this video to some degree. Hope it wasn't too long for you. I tend to make long videos, and I enjoy that, you know. Sometimes I just have a lot to say. And, well, there's just, yeah. I'll be back. I will be back tonight with an episode of Back to Basics. And if Bionicle G2 was like, if I'm wrong and Bionicle G2 had some sort of nostalgia value to you, especially, you know, 10 or 11 years later, let me know in the comment section below what you think. I mean, for me, as a G1er, it just sort of failed and floundered. And even 10, 11 years later, I still get nothing out of, I get no nostalgia from the theme, from Bionicle G2. 20 years later, I still get nostalgia for Bionicle 2006. I mean, seriously, what the hell? Because, you know, 20 years later, we got Bionicle Heroes, fun GBA game. I need to play that game some more, so. Either way, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more videos. I'm TheZOMBIEJ. I'll see you folks there. Have a good fucking day, and peace.